Welcome everybody in here to beautiful Fifth Third Arena at the University of Cincinnati. The Bearcats volleyball team hosting in the Kansas Jayhawks from Lawrence, Kansas today, a ranked Jayhawks team, number 14 in the country. They're sitting at 15-8 on the year. The Bearcats, however, 11-7. They are coming off of a win, though, at Utah, in which they won 3-1. But Kansas, this is no small feat to overcome. Kansas leads the all-time series 2-0 against the Bearcats, and both of them have been sweeps. A tough task ahead of Cincinnati tonight. My name is Justin Dedrick. Joined alongside me, Tim Kraft, here on behalf of Bearcat Sports Radio. Tim, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, and I'm looking forward to a great volleyball game.
Two teams here in the Big 12 Conference. One of them towards the top of the conference. Head coach Matt Ulmer in his first year, 15-8. He is 6-3 in the conference. Meanwhile, on the other side, another first-year head coach, Coach Daniela Tomic for the Bearcats, 11-7, only 3-5 in the conference. They have struggled ever since they got to conference play. But this is a strong Bearcats team. However, few of their top playmakers are going to be out tonight, especially Sydney Nolan, who is going to be a huge loss for this team.
For sure. She is a very big contributor on the slate, arguably the best player. She has a ton of kills in the season. 320 kills, and as well as Brooke Kremel's going to be down as well, 85 kills in the season.
They will still have some playmakers out there. Yes. Andy Spees, who has been incredible so far this season for the Bearcats, 40-plus assists in 7 different matches. I mean, that's just an insane number.
Unbelievable. 682 assists on the season.
On the other side for Kansas, Ryan Swanson is going to be a tough player for the Bearcats to try to stop. This defense is going to have to key in on her a lot.
For sure. She's averaging about 3.04 kills per set and 228 on the year.
Cincinnati is a matchup with Houston after this one. That will again be at home, and then they will travel to Manhattan, Kansas, and stay in the state for Kansas State and Kansas back-to-back for a little bit of a road trip after this one. So they'll enjoy 2 at home, which is nice to have for them. Kansas, on the other hand, coming off of a loss to Kansas State in a rivalry matchup, so they're going to be looking for some revenge to get back into the win column. Starting lineups are being announced here. Coach Tomic gets a nice cheer from the crowd.
That's very justified.
The last time Kansas played the Bearcats, they were ranked number 8 back in 2024.
Some other players to look out for: Gretchen Sigmund with 162 kills, as well as the libero Lily Gillespie. She's been doing really well with assists this year, as well as her work rate with 209 total attempts.
Both teams in the huddle here and getting ready to pop out for the first serve. The rain didn't stop some fans from showing up in Fifth Third tonight. It has been gloomy for the past few days, but there are still some fans here to support the volleyball team. Always nice to see. The Bearcats will serve first. Just some discussions going on before we are able to start the point.
Very excited to get this one underway.
Bearcats, of course, need to get some production to make up for the loss of Sydney Nolan and Brooke Krumel. They're going to need somebody else to step up. They can't rely on just Carly Glendinning for the entire game.
For sure, finding outside production from players that you typically wouldn't rely on as much. More as role players need to step up tonight.
Still waiting for confirmation to start. Not exactly sure what the holdup is, and so it will be Kansas who will start the game serving. Back there to send it away for the Jayhawks, Logan Bell, the freshman. And we are underway here in fifth third. That one goes into the net, so the Bearcats with an early 1-0 lead.
Always great to start out a match like that for the Bearcats. Now they're going to get it to one of their better servers in Carly Glendenning.
Glendenning sends this one away, and that one gets over, dig up by Kansas, and now on the other side, that one's going to be hit and out of bounds off the hand of Jovana Zelenovic. Zelenovic standing at 6'7", going to be a monster for the Bearcats to try to handle, but that time they get her out of bounds.
Carly Glendenning with 11 service aces on the year.
Sends another one cleanly over, fielded by the Jayhawks, and return that's Swanson. Tapped up by the Bearcats. Return Sigmund. She's blocked at the net. Good job by Pickering to keep it alive. Sigmund again sends over a light one. Now the return by the Bearcats, and that time Zelenovic makes it a point. Keeping that one in bounds, went the opposite direction, so maybe caught the Bearcats off guard a little bit.
Really nice positioning there. Couldn't quite get her hands underneath it. It's Lily Gillespie.
So now to send it away to Kansas is Ryan White. The libero gets a clean serve. The Keelberry taps it over. A strong hit by Grace Nelson from the Jayhawks, and the Bearcats aren't able to control that one cleanly. Nelson got a piece of that one.
Definitely another player to look out for the Jayhawks and Grace Nelson, 197 kills in the year, 2.7%.
Another one sent over by White cleanly. Sigmund gets a chance at it, tapped the net. White keeps it up. Now the set in the middle, hits it right into the net. It's time to go the other side. Pickering, she's blocked at the net. Kansas keeping that defense strong right at the front, but just some light tap over, floated down and found the ground on the Kansas side. Nobody was there in the middle, and it's an easy Bearcat point. They're up 3-2.
I believe that was number 20, Gretchen Sigmund.
Now Lily Gillespie back to serve, and she sends one over with a little bit of power. The back set to Zelenovic. She's blocked at the net, and the Bearcats tap it over. Kansas gets another chance. Zelenovic, another tap at it. And they'll say she
hit the net, I believe.
Was into the net,
okay.
So.
No, it's actually a Kansas Jayhawk point.
And the Bearcats were into the net there on the return. Now Zelenovic will go back for the serve for Kansas. All tied at threes here in set one. Zelenovic, 6'7", freshman from Serbia, sends that one into the net. So another error by the Jayhawks.
Can't continue to make those service errors tonight, especially on the road for Kansas.
Like Gretchen Sigmund is back there to send it over for the Bearcats. She gets a clean one, fielded by White. Tapped up, and Nelson again gets it right on the sideline.
Definitely really good positioning for sure.
Grace Nelson, one of the best hitters here on the Kansas Jayhawks team, only a sophomore, and she is back to serve for Kansas now. Sends over, nope, does not send over a clean one. Another error. Kansas needs to get these serves. They need to get them under control. Just get them over. No need to do anything fancy. You're losing easy points.
Kansas coach wondering what's going on.
Paige Pickering to serve for the Bearcats, and that one's over cleanly, tapped up by Nelson. The back set going cross court. The Bearcats going to return that one, tapped up high. Free ball sent over by the Jayhawks. Spies with a little bit of a misdirection, almost works. Swanson sent over a free ball for the Jayhawks. Glendenning gets a powerful hit down in the middle. Ryan White not able to dive and get there in time. 6-4, Cincinnati leads.
Way to get it to your hitter on the outside, Carly Glendenning, for the kill.
Paige Pickering to serve. Sends it over cleanly. Another light floater. The back set to Tachik is kept up by Johnson. Now Glendenning sends one into the net. Just not enough power to sneak over the top.
Back and forth set here. Let's see if Kansas can get over the net on this serve.
Reese Tachik, 6'3", sophomore from Wisconsin. send this one over for the Jayhawks. Will they get it over cleanly? And they do get it over the net, but too strong and out of bounds, continuing the serving troubles for Kansas. Make it 4 service errors for them. Now back to serve for the Bearcats, Tatjana Samunovic, the freshman from Serbia. Both teams with a freshman out of Serbia. Samunovic sends over a clean one. Set to Swanson on the left side, is tapped at the net by a Bearcat hand, and no one able to keep it up. Side out Kansas.
That was a great approach by Kansas there, being able to get it over the net and put it in harm's way.
Katie Dalton sends it over into the net again for Kansas. Make that 5 serving errors for them already. 5 of the 8 Bearcat points have come off of Kansas errors.
You wouldn't expect this from a team that's ranked number 14th in the nation.
They need to figure out the easy mistakes. It's costing them dearly. The Bearcats up 8-6. Spees sends over a clean serve. Nelson taps it up. The quick set in the middle is returned by the Bearcats. Good job by Gillespie to keep it up.
Glendening gets blocked, but it goes out of bounds. So that'll be a Bearcats point. 9-6.
Extending their lead a little bit off the back of those Kansas mistakes.
Let's see if they can build on this momentum here.
Spees set to serve again. Sophomore transfer from Middle Tennessee State sends over a clean one. The back set to Zelenovic, right to Gillespie.
Wow.
A good return. White's going to set up Swanson, and they're just attacking Gillespie. Takes 2. That one almost at the face, and no one's able to keep it up. Great effort for her, but that's just such a tough play to make.
Definitely, for sure. I mean, they just completely targeted her 2 times in a row. She's able to maintain really good on the year, being able to deflect it back over sometimes, especially what she did in the last set.
Finally, Kansas gets a serve over. That was Logan Bell. Sigmund gets a chance, and she skies that one too strong, out of bounds. Gretchen Sigmund needs to get that one down, just keep it in play, and let Kansas make mistakes as they have done so far. Only 9-8 is the Bearcat lead. Another clean serve over for the Jayhawks. Spees to set to Glendening, and she's blocked down, but out of bounds, side out Cincinnati.
They were able to find some momentum when she was there back to last time. Carly Glendening sends it over.
Fielded cleanly by the Jayhawks. Return, they set up Nelson, and she's blocked down at the net. Elliot Mickleberry stepping in for Sydney Nolan, and Brooke Crummel making a big impact so far. 11-8 is the Cincinnati lead.
Definitely going to hear her name a lot tonight.
Glendening for her 2nd in a row. Just barely gets over the edge of the net. The back set to Zelenovic. Blocked down on the Kansas side. A little bit of a miscommunication. Zelenovic thought a teammate was back to cover for her. Nobody was. 12-8, Cincinnati.
Keep on building on this momentum here.
Glendening, another clean one. The back set to Zelenovic. Try it again, and that time it works just off of the hand of Paige Pickering. Changed the ball's direction, and nobody was there to field it in the middle for Cincinnati.
The libero for Kansas. Back to serve.
Ryan White, senior from Washington, sends over a little ballooner. The back set from Spees to Sigmund. She's blocked at the net. Diving effort to keep it alive. Sigmund sends it over again, almost into the side of the net. Now a little bit of control here by the Bearcats. Sigmund blocked once again. Gillespie not enough to dive and get there in time. Now 12-10, Kansas chipping away at this Bearcats lead slowly. White.
Although there was a point for Kansas, really good communication on that set by the Bearcats.
White back to serve once again, sends this one over. Seems as though Kansas's serving troubles are behind them. Pickering gets a shot at one. Good up by the Jayhawks. They'll send over a free ball, though. Opportunity for the Bearcats. Mickleberry sends that one way out of bounds off the sideline. Just didn't have a good read on it. Now just 12-11 is the Cincinnati lead. Ryan White back there for her 3rd serve in a row. Sending over some nice ones. The Bearcats have trouble fielding this one. Send it high. Pickering Has a nice hit. Good downspin to it. Nelson gets an opportunity. She's blocked at the net. A mishandle by Logan Bell leads to a Bearcat point, 13-11.
Side out Bearcats. Lily Gillespie will be back there to serve.
Gillespie sends over that one and way out of bounds on the sideline. Had too much power. Looked like a win off the side of her hand. Just didn't have a good swing at that one.
That'll be the 15th service error of the year for her, but also very good with 9 service aces on the year.
Zelenovic back to serve for the Jayhawks with a high toss and a downspin. That's what you can do when you're standing at 6'7". You have the ability to hit those from way up there, get the angle. Bearcats somehow returned it, but they don't have a chance at that one. Grace Nelson found the hole in the middle of the court and just attacked it. 13-13, all tied up, and Zelenovic, a nasty serve. Let's see if she can do it again.
Tied up at a little bit over there, Baker's dozen.
Another high serve. That is so disgusting. Spees sets up Pickering. That one's tapped to the net, going to be returned. Try for misdirection. That one would have been out of bounds. Spees saved it in. Sigmund sends one, and that one is off of the sideline and just barely out of bounds. Kansas now taking their first lead of the night, 14-13.
UC is going to have to find a way to combat this serve.
Zelenovic sent her first serve into the net. That one just taps over off the top. Free ball sent over for the Jayhawks. Nelson gets a swing, tapped up by Glendenning. Spees sets up Pickering, and she just lightly taps it off the arms of Katie Dalton. Nobody was there to field it. Miscommunication by the Jayhawks. They didn't really have good positioning for the return.
Not typically a one that you'd see a point on because she was just running at it and spiked it over.
All tied up at 14s. Mackenzie Johnson with a good serve. Blocked to the net by Pickering. Another opportunity for the Jayhawks. That's Nelson. Diving effort by Glendenning keeps it alive. Pickering another chance. And Kansas was into the net. 15-14. Cincinnati has taken their lead back, and we get a timeout here as we are at the middle of the set. Cincinnati leads 15-14. About a minute 20 in this break. We'll be back in just a minute here on Bearcat Sports Radio. Back after the break here, Cincinnati took their lead back right before the timeout. They are up 15-14 here in set one. Mackenzie Johnson back to serve for the Bearcats. Johnson sends over a clean one, tapped up by Ryan White. The back set to Tachik is blocked down by Pickering, but on the Cincinnati side, all tied back up here, 15s. Grace Nelson set to serve for the Kansas Jayhawks. Of course, this Jayhawks team ranked number 14 in the nation. They're going to be one of the toughest tests that this Bearcats team faces all year. Speed sets up Pickering, a powerful one, blocked at the net. The setup to Swanson, tapped over by Glendenning.
Really good return by Glendening there.
Swanson another chance. Gillespie taps it up. It was tipped at the net. Gillespie sends over a free ball. Tachik. Now they set up Swanson for a third time, and the third time's the charm for Ryan Swanson. Kansas back in the lead, 16-15.
Swanson, best player on Kansas. Gotta look out for number 4.
Grace Nelson back to serve once again. Tapped up by Gillespie. Spees, back set to Simunovic, and that one blocked down on the Bearcats side. The force at the net. Swanson, Dalton, and Tachik, that 3 have been doing damage. Cincinnati has been blocked almost every single attempt so far. They need to find a way to get around that. Again, tapped, able to be controlled. Dalton sets Swanson on the other side, and she finds the hole perfectly placed between Gillespie and Glendening. No chance for Cincinnati.
Kansas finding some momentum here. They were sloppy in the early going, but definitely finding some rhythm here.
They're up 18-15 as we get a little stoppage of play for a wet spot on the court.
Definitely critical to get those wiped up.
Make sure nobody slips up and gets injured. Nelson sends over another one, and that one too strong. There's another error for Kansas.
Side out Bearcats.
Gives them a good opportunity to cut into the Jayhawks lead. They're only up by 2. Paige Pickering is back to serve for them. Pickering, the senior from Illinois, standing at 5'10", sends over a nice ballooning serve. Dalton sets up Swanson. She's blocked at the net. Spees taps it over. Dalton again. This time Nelson in the back line will send it over. Spees on the other side sets up Glendening for the kill. Carly Glendening. Haven't heard her much so far this game, but there she gets a point, and the Bearcats are only down 1.
Second kill of the match for Carly Glendening. It's also been very good serving tonight.
Pickering with another clean serve. Mishandle on the return. Swanson somehow still gets a good chance at it. Spees sets up Glendening, tapped up by Nelson. Dalton sets to Swanson. She's blocked the net by Spees, and Glendening barely able, looks like that's Pickering, who was barely able to try to get to that dive on the sideline. She came up slowly, and she's walking gingerly, so we'll hope she is okay, but a great effort by her.
Love to see that effort by Pickering.
Nonetheless, it is Kansas point. They're up 19-17 here in set 1. Tachik back to serve for the Jayhawks. Tapped up by Pickering. Now Johnson sends it high. Glendening gets a good swing, and Carly Glendening with another kill.
She's finding her rhythm in the back half of this first set.
Now Simunovic is back there to serve once again for the Bearcats. They're only down by 1 point. Trying to tie this thing all up. Simunovic sends over a short one. Dalton sets Swanson. Good tap up by Simunovic. Swanson blocked down by Spees. It's all tied up at 19.
You love to see it.
Simunovic to serve as the Bearcats try to take their lead back for the first time since it was 14-13.
I love them even being shorthanded tonight, fighting all the way.
Dalton back set to Nelson. Simunovic keeps it alive. Spees to Glendening. A light tap.
Oh.
Kansas not able to control it. A quick tapper right into Nelson, and nobody was there to cover for her. Cincinnati has the lead back, 20-19.
You love to see it. Here's Daniela Tomic, UC Bearcats coach in her first year.
Simunovic continuing her hot streak of serves. Let's see if she can send over another good one. Cincinnati up 20-19 here in set 1, trying to get an early lead over this ranked Jayhawks team. Dalton sets Swanson, and she finds a hole. Simunovic tried to move in front of her, but that one's just too hard to get to. Doesn't have the time or the speed to get there.
We're tied back up at 20-20.
Katie Dalton, a setter for Kansas. Sends that one. Johnson taps it up. Speeds the set to Glendening. Tip at the net and down on the ground. Ryan White wasn't able to get there in time. Side out Cincinnati. Back to go to serve is Andy Spees.
Andy Spees with 11 service aces on the year. See if she can get one here.
Spees, one of the best transfer portal acquisitions for this team, coming over from Middle Tennessee State. And that one goes out of bounds, so an error for Spees instead of an ace. And we're tied back up.
May have jinxed her there, unfortunately.
The classic announcer jinx comes back to bite us. Logan Bell to serve for Kansas. Been a tight set one, back and forth the entire time. Tapped up by Pickering. A return for the Jayhawks now. Zelenovic gets a swing at it. Good job by Pickering again. Staying good on the defensive end. Glendenning's blocked the net. Oh, Grace Nelson right into the face of Paige Pickering. She took a beating that entire point. Great effort, but Kansas does get the point, and they take the lead back 22-21.
Definitely going to need a good return here. If you're UC, can't afford to fall behind even more.
And there's a good read. Pickering thought about going for it for a second, let it go out of bounds. It was just too strong off the back line. And now Carly Glendenning, one of the best servers on this team, is back there for the Bearcats. And this is looking good for them. All tied up at 22 against a ranked squad. You're short-handed. Glendenning sends one over. Going to be returned. Nelson taps it up. Good dive to keep it alive. That was Pickering. Free ball sent over. Blocked at the net. Spees set to Pickering. She sends over a light one. Dalton taps it up. Now White up to Nelson. Gillespie with the dig. Spees the set to Pickering. And that one's too strong out of bounds. Side out Kansas.
That'll make it 23-20 Jayhawks.
A good rally on that one, but unfortunately Pickering just wasn't able to get a full swing. The libero Ryan White back to serve. Kansas up by one. Tapped up by Glendenning. Speeds the set to Pickering. Doesn't find ground. Bell hits it up. Dalton sets Grace Nelson in perfectly in the back right corner. No Bearcats were there, and it is set point. 24-22. Kansas in the lead, and we get a timeout here by the Bearcats as Coach Tomich wants to talk a couple things over with her team before this set point, this potential winner here. Kansas started off with a lot of errors, a lot of mistakes, and they gave a lot of free points over to the Bearcats, and they weren't really able to take advantage of it. Now Kansas in the lead, not exactly the spot that the Bearcats want to be in.
Especially when you're playing shorthanded, you'd like to be up a set over Kansas in the early going. Still have a shot here. Just definitely got to come out of this timeout with some adjustments by Daniela Tomich.
Tomich, a first-year head coach here at Cincinnati, spent a lot of time at Bowling Green before this. One of the most well-respected coaches in college volleyball. Surely has a good strategy here for this Bearcats team. Of course, we've mentioned they are short-handed. Star player Sydney Nolan is out, as well as Brooke Crummell, who is one of their incoming transfers over from Liberty University. Both of them get significant playing time, so they're trying to rotate some other players in to try to replace their production. But it's so hard when those two are your key players as far as kills at the net and blocks.
Pickering has looked really good tonight, flying all over the place, as well as Gillespie. And then also, obviously, you got Andy Spees along with Carly Glendenning.
So set point coming out of the timeout. Kansas up 24-22. Ryan White continues to serve for Kansas. White, the libero, senior from Washington, transferred over from Richland.
Has the most service aces on the team with 21.
See if she can add another one here.
Hopefully not for the Bearcats.
One more would match her jersey number.
We'd like to see another error. Hopefully the early match errors can haunt them here.
Ryan White sends this one, does get over cleanly, toughed up by Gillespie. Pickering sends it high, and they send over a free ball. That's Glendenning. Bell taps it up. Quick one to Tatrick. She's blocked to the net. Another chance. Dalton to Zelenovic. Gillespie with a dig. Sigmund tries to get it over, but she's blocked to the net. Grace Nelson finds the ground on the Cincinnati side, and Kansas comes back to take set one, 25-22. Unfortunate little series of events there for the Bearcats. They do fall, but they did look strong, and they played their best. We'll be back after a short break here on Bearcat Sports Radio for set two.
Hello, and we're back on Bearcast Media Network. We'll be here to get the second set started. I'm Tim Kraft, along with my announcer, Justin. Looking forward to getting this set started. Should be a good one.
Yeah, Cincinnati unfortunately couldn't come away with the first set, so they are trailing down 1-0. However, they did play strong. Only lost that one 25-22. So nothing to bow your head at. You've played well. Now you have to build off of that and try to tie things up.
Wouldn't expect to see as many service errors this match from Kansas that haunted them at the beginning of the match of set one.
Yeah, they'll have to play much stronger. They had 7 total in that first set. Not exactly what you want if you're a Kansas Jayhawks fan, but the Bearcats still weren't able to take advantage of it. So maybe it's a good sign that you can still win even with all those errors.
And that'll be Kayla back there to serve. Returned cleanly. Be over. Gillespie sends it over. Simonovic gets blocked by number 18, Tatiana Simonovic.
There's Serbian on Serbian there as Zelenovic couldn't get it over, and Tatiana Simonovic, first Bearcats point.
Fielded cleanly by the Jayhawks. Oh, and number 17, Aurora Popek for the Jayhawks will get that over for them.
And that's just a quick one. Nothing you can do against those super quick sets. It comes right off the hand and right into the swing.
Ryan White back to serve for the Jayhawks. Fielded cleanly by Kayla. Over to Glendenning. Blocked, but still over on the Jayhawks side. Blocked, and that'll be out of bounds, though. That'll be a Jayhawks point. It'll be 2-1, Jayhawks. Ryan White back to serve again. Fielded cleanly by Kayla Hallstetter. Over to Glendenning. Really nice positioning by Glendenning. And that'll be another kill. 4th on the match for Glendenning.
Yeah, Glendenning having a pretty strong match so far without her other outside hitter in Sydney Nolan. She has to make up for it, and she's doing a decent job.
The Serbian Simonovic will be back to serve for the Bearcats. Fielded cleanly, and that'll be a kill. I did not get the number on that one, but Jayhawks point. It'll be number 9, Zelenovic, back to serve for the Jayhawks at 6'7". She can get a lot of backspin on that one, this serve. Throws it up high in the air, fielded cleanly by Gillespie. Over to Glendenning. They'll get it out. That'll be out of bounds. Grace Nelson, just a little too much power, had the right idea, looking for the right corner.
And there we go. Cincinnati ties things up at 3-3. A little bit unconventional, but they're still in this one early in the set.
And they'll send one of their best servers back there, Carly Glendenning. Little pause and play here. Challenging the call on the court is the Kansas Jayhawks. Did not think, may have thought that the ball was inbounds on that right corner.
Yeah, we'll see if we end up getting a review up here on the Jumbotron or not. They may not show us the angle.
Score as it stands, 3-3. And they'll overturn the call. It'll be 4-2 Jayhawks. So that'll be another kill for Grace Nelson of the Jayhawks.
Nelson, that's her 5th kill on the night so far.
Zelenovic back to serve Throws it high in the air, and she'll send it over, but that'll be a service error for the Jayhawks.
That came off like a tennis serve. That was fast. Thought she threw a fastball for a second. It was well out of bounds. I'm almost hit the front row.
And it'll be Andy Spees back to serve. Well, no, Pickering. No, that would be Spees, actually. But that'll be a kill by the Jayhawks. And that'll make it 5-3 Jayhawks.
Yeah, Tachik, again, having a good night so far is for Kansas.
Fielded cleanly by the Bearcats. They'll get a shot at it here with Pickering. Pickering gets it back up over to Glendenning. Deflected. Jayhawks back over with Swanson. She'll have another kill on the night. She is 228 before this game tonight.
Yeah, and after getting an early lead in set one, Cincinnati just hasn't been able to replicate that so far in set two. They need to get some kind of offense.
Grace Nelson sends it over, fielded cleanly by Kayla. Over to Glendenning, really good dive. And that'll be a Jayhawks point. Really good dive, as I was mentioning, by Grace Nelson of the Jayhawks. She'll be back to serve again. Not before Daniela Tomic calls timeout.
Yeah, Coach Tomic not happy with how her team's looking so far early into this set. They just need to shore up the defense. They're making too many mistakes.
Definitely agree here. Showing a little bit of an interactive up on the scoreboard right now.
Yeah,
some of the players.
Teammate trivia going on up there. I think it's a Halloween theme tonight, of course, with Halloween being tomorrow. I've seen a couple people in costumes around here. I saw someone as a pirate earlier.
Campus is definitely already ready for Halloween.
I see some Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons over there in the sideline. That's interesting.
I love the costumes down there, yeah. Cheer team definitely hyped up for tonight. Always bringing the heat, as they normally do. And we are on the scoreboard.
I was looking for that camera because I know exactly who's running the camera tonight. I'm going to find him after the game. Have a little chat.
And right out of the timeout, Bearcats point. They'll send it right back to Glendenning. Glendenning sends it on over, fielded cleanly by the Jayhawks. Over to Swanson. That'll be Pickering. Jayhawks back over to Swanson. That'll be a kill for the Jayhawks. Gonna have heard her name a lot tonight.
Yeah, Ryan Swanson, that's her 8th kill so far on the night. I mean, she has just been ridiculous on the outside, getting great swings.
They'll send it over, fielded cleanly by the Bearcats. Over. And they'll get it over, and that'll be a Bearcats point. Side out Bearcats. It'll be Lily Gillespie back there to serve. Lily Gillespie sends it on over. Fielded cleanly by the Jayhawks. Over to Swanson, but right off the hands of Pickering, and that'll go out of bounds. Jayhawks point.
Yeah, good chance by Pickering to get up there, try to get a hand on it. You have to make some type of play. Just an unfortunate land for her.
That'll make it 9-5 Jayhawks. Jayhawks send it on over. Oh, and that'll be out of bounds on the Jayhawks. As number 17, Aurora Popek sends it out too far back. And Pickering will be back to serve for the Bearcats. She sends it on over. Fielded cleanly. Over to Swanson. Deflected off by the Bearcats. They'll send it over by Tatiana Simonovic. In the middle there, Grace Nelson sends it over for the Jayhawks. Tatiana sends it, sailing way out of bounds. And that'll be 10-6 Jayhawks.
Yeah, I mean, you got a good swing into it. A lot of power, but you have to get that down, maybe a little bit more under control.
For sure. Jayhawks will send it on over. Glendenning hits it up over to Tatiana Simonovic. And a lot better positioning there and a lot better control there by Simonovic. Kayla Hostetter will be back there. No, Mackenzie Johnson will be back there to serve. Really good by Mackenzie Johnson. Over to Glendenning. She gets the kill. Really crucial points. Point right there.
Yeah, Glendenning got a full swing, full hand on that one. Great connection with the ball and just found the soft spot in the defense.
Mackenzie Johnson sends it on over. And they will get it back over to the Bearcats. Glendenning. Nelson sets it up. Over by the Jayhawks. They get it back over to Swanson. Back. Oh, and that'll be out of bounds. Good read by the Jayhawks. Number 25, Logan Bell, their setter. Well, no. Ryan White's their setter. They'll send it over. And it'll get blocked. Jayhawks over to Swanson. Couldn't get her hands underneath it, is Pickering. That'll be a kill for Swanson.
Yeah, make that Swanson's 10th. Just hit double digits, and we're barely into set 2.
Logan Bell to send it over. Fielded cleanly by Mackenzie Johnson. Over by Glendenning, and that'll be a point for the Bearcats. Very crucial points. They got to keep themselves in it. 9-12. Number 18, Semyonovic, will send it over for the Bearcats. And that'll be a kill by number 10, Reese Patach of the Jayhawks.
Yeah, in a good spot. Johnson was going to her left. Tajik hit it to her right. Just a little bit of a misdirection and no chance for Johnson to adjust.
Zelenovic back to serve. She likes to put a lot of air underneath that ball, and she'll send it on over.
Oh, my.
Really feels good, clean. Glendenning over, and they will be able to get a point there.
The downspin on that serve looks like a ping pong ball. It just goes down and keeps going down. I'm not sure how these players on Cincinnati are able to even return that.
Andy Spees here to serve. The Bearcats setter on the year for this match with 682. Sends it on over, fielded cleanly by the Kansas Jayhawks. Get it over to Swanson, and that'll be off the Bearcats, and that'll be another kill for Swanson.
Yeah, Swanson past double digits now. She has just been ridiculously good so far.
Grace Nelson back to serve, another one of their hitters. That'll be a service error, and the Bearcats will be able to side out and send Carly Glendenning back to serve.
It's their third service error this set. They had 7 back in set 1, so still an improvement, but you still don't want to have 3 service errors in a set, and it's not even over yet.
Sends it on over, fielded cleanly by the Jayhawks. And over to Semyonovich, and that'll be a point for the Bearcats as Grace Nelson flared her arms up into the air to try to set that one. Maybe ill-advised there. Glendenning back to serve, and she'll send it on over. Fielded cleanly by the Jayhawks. Grace Nelson sends it on over, and she'll redeem herself from last time. Side out Jayhawks.
Yeah, and you don't want to give Nelson more opportunities at the ball because she's not going to make that mistake another time.
Especially in the center of the court. Number 12, Heidi Devers back to serve for the Jayhawks. Fielded not so cleanly. Over to Semyonovich, but it doesn't matter. Bearcats point. Semyonovich with a kill.
Yeah, she hit it into the arm of Katie Dalton. It just took an unfortunate bounce off of her arm into the middle of the court. It's tough to get a read on those when it happens so fast and nobody's there to cover.
Bearcats within 2. Gillespie sends it over. And the Bearcats will now have it back. Jayhawks set it up for Grace Nelson. Lily Gillespie flies across the court for Semyonovich. Jayhawks. And that'll be out of bounds. Jayhawks point. They've been fiddling around the number around 3 deficit. They just need to get past that. They were able to get within 2 that last set, but it'll be side out Jayhawks. They'll send it on over, and Pickering will have one, but that'll be blocked. And it'll be another Jayhawks point. They'll be up 17-13. Timeout. Daniela Tomic.
Yeah, and you go down by 4 points here. It's not the craziest deficit. You can definitely come back from this. But if you fall down 2 sets to none, that is a really tough task. So you have to get your team ready now, get a new strategy in, maybe some substitutions. You're going to want to come back from this. Just hit your serves. Make sure your defense is strong. Maybe try to get some better attacks. Their attack hasn't really been keen tonight. Their hit percentage is only .12, .12. It is not exactly, you don't want it to be in the 100s at all. Kansas is in the 300s. So you can see where the discrepancy here between these 2 offenses. The Bearcats, just without Sydney Nolan, it's so tough to have a clean offense, but they need to find it somewhere. And I don't know if that's subbing in somebody new who hasn't really got some time tonight. Tomic has a few things to maybe figure out to try to fix their offense so far.
One thing I haven't quite understood is they've gone away from Pickering, who had a huge first set. This second set, not as much, but just hasn't been given as many opportunities.
Yeah, she just hasn't been able to get over the front line of the Jayhawks. They're just so tall, especially with Zelenovic there. And Pickering, for an outside hitter, only 5'10". You're not going to be able to have a ton of chances at it, especially with a super tall line. So they need to find a way, maybe get her more on the outside, get a better angle, so she has a chance for a few more kills.
And then also give Sigmund and Glendenning some more opportunities as well. Jayhawks will have it here. Swanson back over to Semyonovich. Jayhawks will get it over, and that'll be a kill by Zelenovic.
Zelenovic having a quietly good night. That's 5 kills for her. Got 3 digs. No blocks, considering she is the tallest player on the court by far.
Number 7, Katie Dalton, the setter, sends it on over. Fielded cleanly by the Bearcats. Back on over. Number 18 hits it over. And that'll be a point for the Bearcats. Side out Bearcats. Number 17, Pickering will be back to serve. She'll send it over. And Jayhawks blocked by it was blocked into the net. And that'll make it a 5-point lead for the Jayhawks.
Still a solid effort. You have to try to get up and make those plays. Just unfortunate where that ball goes. You want to try to get it back over, or at least in the air enough for one of your teammates to make a play.
Bearcats fielded cleanly, but the send over one. That'll be out of bounds. Another point for the Jayhawks. This one kind of running out of hands for the Bearcats. Jayhawks will be back to serve. We'll send it on over. Bearcats over to Simjonovic. And they'll get a kill there. Definitely need to find some momentum here.
Yeah, still trailing by 5. There's still plenty of time. You're only down 15 to 20. So you have an opportunity. Kansas still needs quite a few points to get this set. But if you're Cincinnati, you need to get going now. You don't have any more time to wait.
Couldn't agree more. Mackenzie Johnson back to serve for the Bearcats. She'll send it on over. Really good position. That'll be a service ace. Mackenzie Johnson, that'll make it 3 on the year for her. She'll send it on over again. Oh, nearly another one. That'll be a Bearcats point as it's deflected out of the net and out of bounds. So definitely some momentum out of that timeout. Let's see if they can keep it going here. Jayhawks send it over, and that is just tough when you have 6'7" Zelenovic send it on over at that velocity.
Yeah, and that was just the perfect spot for her. She barely even had to jump to get that one down. That's just ridiculous.
Almost unfair. Jayhawks will send it on over. And Zelenovic send it over, and that'll be another point for the Jayhawks. Back-to-back kills by Zelenovic. UC looked to have momentum there, but Kansas Jayhawks are stealing it back a little bit.
Just how quickly things can change.
Bell will send it on over. And that will be another point for the Jayhawks, making it 23-17 Jayhawks. Ryan White back to serve. My mistakes in that last one. Fielded not so cleanly, but it'll be up to Glendenning. Really good flying attempt over there by Ryan White. It'll be a kill by Swanson. Heard her name a lot tonight.
Yeah, Swanson's been by far the most consistent hitter. Over 400 hit percentage for her so far.
A little bit of their own version of Sydney Nolan, who's not playing tonight. Glendenning almost out of the reach, but for the Jayhawks. And that'll fall in the middle of the court for the match, the set. Kansas will go up 2-0. UC definitely going to need this next one.
Yeah, they're going to need to talk things over. There's a 5-minute break here between sets, so they're going to need to talk things over, get a new strategy, get some rest, get some water, and see if they can find something to work for them in set 3. Back here in 5th third for the start of set 3. Cincinnati trailing 2-0. They're trying to avoid a 3-set sweep here against the number 14 team in the nation, but it'll be tough. They've been playing shorthanded, and they've been doing the best they can. They just haven't been able to keep up with the Jayhawks so far.
Definitely going to want to see more consistency from the Bearcats this set.
Kansas will get the serve to start. It'll be Logan Bell. And Bell getting ready, and she will send things over, and we'll get set 3 underway. Spees trying to tap it up, and she is met at the net by Aurora Papich. And the 6'4" Papich against the 5'10" Andy Spees. Your guess how that one went down. Quick 1-0 start for the Jayhawks. Bell for a second consecutive serve. Short one. Johnson backpedaling falls, but is able to tap it up. Glendenning blocked, but out of bounds. Zelenovic wasn't able to get a good handle on it. And tied up here as Simunovic heads back to serve for Cincinnati. Simunovic, 1 kill for her tonight. 2 digs in the block. Sends over a powerful serve, tapped up by Nelson, and out of bounds. Dalton misread the set. An
Getting
easy
out to
one.
a big league this set would be huge for the Bearcats.
Simunovic to serve once again. Currently no Swanson in for Kansas, so this is when you have to take advantage of the Jayhawks. Tapped up high by Ryan White. It went over Glendenning, and Zelenovic met at the net, but Zelenovic was over. So 3-1 for the Bearcats, a mistake by Zelenovic and Kansas, as Simunovic will continue her streak of serves. Sends over another powerful one. Great serves for her. Papich taps it over lightly, bounces off the top of the net. The return by Spees, a light one. White is there. Dalton the back set to Zelenovic, and off the outstretched hands of Elite Mickelberry, and on the Bearcats side out Kansas.
Gonna need some more production from her tonight if we're gonna have a shot.
Ryan White, the libero, back to serve. A clean one, tapped up high by Johnson. Spees, misdirection on the set, sends it over instead. Now Dalton on return, back set to Zelenovic. Tapped over after the block by Mickelberry. Papich got a hand on it. Excuse me, that's Tachik actually. Gets it down and ties things up for the Kansas Jayhawks.
Mackenzie Johnson having a really good night tonight back there. A lot of digs for the Bearcats.
Ryan White, tapped up by Paige Pickering. Gillespie sets up Glendenning, and she just couldn't get the angle. Tried to go cross court. Instead, it hit the net and down on her own side. Kansas takes the lead. 4-3 lead for the set. Kansas, of course, leads 2-0, trying to come away out of Clifton with a sweep. White continuing her streak of good serves. Johnson taps it up. Glendenning off the set. Kept alive by Bell. Dalton the set in the middle to Tachik, and finds the back left corner in the open space.
Tatch is really finding good positioning on the court there to spike it down and get the kill for the Jayhawks.
Ryan White sends it over again. They're up 5-3, and Glendenning makes that 5-4 with a powerful kill on the right sideline. You've got to get her more opportunities. That's her 13th kill tonight.
Redeeming herself going cross court there.
Now Andy Spees back to serve for the Bearcats. They're only trailing by 1, 5-4. Dalton taps it up. Zelenovic off the back set, kept alive by Gillespie. Now Glendenning with an opportunity just off the outstretched arms of Tachik, and on the Kansas side, all tied up at 5-5.
Would really like to see the Bearcats go on a run here. Especially when they got Andy Spees back there to serve.
Spees serving here and trying to give the Bearcats the lead back here in set 3. Tatchik sends it over. Gillespie, good dive to keep it alive. Now Glendenning, light tap. Dalton on the return to Bell, and that one way too strong off the back line. Looked like Gillespie was almost doing limbo to avoid hitting that one. It was right over her head.
A little bit of a 180 by Gillespie.
Cincinnati back in the lead now, 6-5. Gillespie still back to serve for the Bearcats. Sends over, nope, not over, into the net. A costly error.
They'll have a service error that haunted the Jayhawks earlier tonight.
Only their third of the game or of the match. So the Bearcats have avoided them so far to this point, but now is when you cannot afford to have more of them. Back to serve for the Jayhawks, Molly McCarthy, the redshirt junior from California. The first time we've seen her tonight getting some action. Pickering is tapped, blocked at the net, kept alive by the Jayhawks. Nelson on the other side. Good job by Spees to get the dig, get underneath that one. Pickering forced to send over a free ball. McCarthy to Dalton, back set to Tatchik, and Gillespie's just not able to get there in time. So once again, the Jayhawks back in the lead as they are up in the set, 6-7. McCarthy, another good serve for her. Spees gonna tap that one high. Pickering forced to send over a free ball. Tatchik to Dalton, back set back to Tatchik. Good play. Kept alive by Gillespie, and then Glendenning gets an opportunity at the net. Hit up high by Mickelberry, and Glendenning took advantage. 16 kills for Carly Glendenning. Excuse me, 15 for her.
Only 2 errors on the match. That's a pretty good percentage right there.
And Glendenning is back to serve for the Bearcats. McCarthy keeps it alive, and Tatchik, a quick play. The dig, the set, and the kill. Kansas, this is why they're ranked number 14 in the nation. They have these set little plays and the team chemistry. It works so fast. Cincinnati barely even had a chance to react. 8-7 is the Kansas lead here in set 3. Returned by Buziani. Tatchik right to Gillespie and out of bounds. Just powerful hit by her.
Would like to have fielded that cleanly, but that was a powerful hit. Nelson, who has 11 kills in the match, will be back to serve.
Grace Nelson, the sophomore, sends over one into the arms of Ava Liederber, who's checked into the match for the Bearcats.
Really nice dive by number 22, Ryan White there.
Buziani blocked the net. Oh, Nelson with a dive, kept it alive. Swanson, she's blocked the net, but it lands out of bounds. Mickelberry, great job to get up, but you just have to keep that one in. Kansas sends their lead 10-7, and we get a timeout here by the Bearcats. Coach Tomich.
Wild series of events there.
Needs to get something going for her team as they're down 10-7 here in set 3, and they're trailing 2-0, trying to avoid this sweep on a rainy night here in Cincinnati, but it's going to be a tough task to come back from down 2 sets. Back after the timeout.
Today's broadcast is presented by El Vaquero, authentic Mexican dining just steps off of UC's campus on Short Vine. Visit El Vaquero today at 2845 Short Vine Street and follow them online at El Vaquero Clifton. El Vaquero, the best in Cincinnati.
Solid Mexican food there. I've had it a few times when they cater in for our general body meetings. Good tacos. Nelson sends over a serve as Kansas leads 10-7 here in set 3. McCarthy taps up. Dalton the backs at the Tachik. Kept alive by Pickering. Speeds sets one's up for Buziani. She's blocked at the net. Another opportunity for her. Second time, way over into the arms of Ryan White. She hits it up high. Tachik on the return. Way too far out of bounds. Hit the Cincinnati wording. That was about 3 or 4 feet off the back line.
Side out Bearcats.
They're down by 2 points, 8-10. Down by 2 sets as well. Lily Gillespie to serve. Balloons that one over. Tapped up by Nelson. The set to Swanson. And Gillespie was able to keep it up. Got a hand under that somehow, but nobody was there to help her out and keep it alive.
I'm shocked by how she's able to keep those balls from hitting the ground at times, even if they're unsuccessful getting into another person on the team.
Heidi Devers back in for the Jayhawks to serve. Pickering keeps it alive. They set her up, and she's blocked at the net. Aurora Papich again. The struggles of just having a smaller outside hitter there with Kansas having so much height in their front line. It's tough for the Bearcats to really break through. 12-8 is a Jayhawk lead as they send it over again. Buziani with an opportunity, and she finds the back corner. Gets it past McCarthy.
That'll make it 6 kills on the match for Buziani.
9-12 is the Jayhawk lead. The Bearcats trying to chip away at it. Paige Pickering back there to serve. McCarthy taps it up. Papich sends it high. Swanson gets a decent swing at it. Almost hits the scoreboard on the dig by the Bearcats. Samunovic is blocked the net with power. Papich is getting up there again, but it did land out of bounds, so the Bearcats will take it. 10-12, slowly eating away at the Jayhawk lead. Pickering to serve once again. McCarthy taps it up. Dalton to set to Swanson. Gillespie gets underneath it. Almost into the front row is Spees, and now Buziani forced to send over a free ball. Dalton, the backs at the Papich. Gillespie again. What a play.
She's unbelievable.
Ryan White on the return. Dalton tried the misdirection on the set, but it went out of bounds off the sideline.
What a set for Lily Gillespie. 2 digs. Crucial in getting that point for the Bearcats.
Pickering to serve once again, trying to tie things up here at 12s if the Bearcats are able to get this point. McCarthy sends it high, the back set to Nelson, and she sends it way too strong off the back line. All tied up here at 12 as Kansas has kind of unraveled after having a 4-point lead.
That'll be the 3rd error on the match for Grace Nelson, also with 11 kills.
Pickering continuing her hot streak of serves. McCarthy fields it once again. They set up Swanson, and she's too strong off the back line. Kansas just needs to reel it in as they have given up their lead here to the Bearcats, 13-12.
Bearcats will take their first lead of the match since 1-0.
And we will get a stoppage of play here. And we'll get a review. Maybe they wanted a tip off of the Bearcats' finger on that last point. We'll see exactly what they call, but at the moment, Cincinnati is in the lead 13-12, although they do trail 2 sets to none.
Surely they can't get another one tonight. They got a video review earlier tonight. Hopefully it goes the Bearcats' way.
We'll see the replay.
I think they're checking for net violation, and it looks like they're checking for net violation.
Did that hit the finger? It's hard to tell from our angle. And they didn't really slow it down too much, which would have been very helpful if they would do that. They're using the side net cam here to try to get a view at it. We'll see if they end up reversing the call and keeping it Bearcat point, or if They'll snuff out that Cincinnati lead and send it back to Kansas.
Andy Spees racking up the assists on the match with 22 and 7 digs for the Bearcats.
She's had a great match so far, showing her talent against a ranked squad. Still waiting on the call. Both teams are back out on the court now. Taking a little bit of time for this review as we get a little look at the Bearcat on the video board. He's in a ghillie suit. Not sure who he's trying to hide from, but
Glendenning and Buznani combining for 21 kills in the match, with Glendenning with 15 and Buznani with 6. They definitely needed more of a balanced scoring attack tonight for the Bearcats. Something that really I admire about the Jayhawks is their balanced attack on offense. They can get production from just about anywhere. They've got 11 kills from Grace Nelson. Ryan Swanson's got another 11. And then you got Reese Patach with another 10. And then Gianna Selenovic with 8.
so they don't end up reversing the call. It will stay Bearcats point. The mishandle on the return by Swanson and the Jayhawks gives the Bearcats another one. They'll extend their lead up 14-12 with a service ace there. Substitution for Kansas. We'll see the 6'7" Zelenovic come back in, so that'll be an obstacle for the Bearcats to tackle.
Pickering back to serve.
Continuing her streak since before the review. Nelson taps it up. Dalton to set to Swanson and gets to the right side of Pickering and finds the ground. 14-13, side out Kansas. And heading back to serve is Katie Dalton, their setter. Senior from Colorado. Now in Lawrence, Kansas. Sends it over. Tapped up by Gillespie. Spees the set in the middle to Samunovic, and that one's blocked way out of bounds. Point for the Bearcats. It's 15-13 in their lead now.
The setter on the other side, Katie Dalton, has 34 assists and 7 digs on the match.
It's a ridiculous night for her. Mackenzie Johnson sends that one and just hits the ground, finds the ground. Nobody was there at all. Service ace there for the Bearcats.
Number 2 of the night for Mackenzie Johnson.
It's an easy one. They extend their lead up 16-13 now. Trying to avoid this 3-set sweep. Swanson gets a beautiful piece of that one off of the arms of Gillespie and into, not the front row, but probably about the 3rd or 4th row over there, almost in the tunnel. Was hit so strong by Swanson. And now Logan Bell back to serve for the Kansas Jayhawks. They're trailing by 2. Of course, trying to come away with a sweep. Johnson, a good dive to keep it alive. Spees sets Glendening for a light tap, but it finds the ground. Perfectly done. All you need to do, don't need to hit it strong every single time. Just find the ground, and it's a point either way.
A little finesse there from Glendening.
Samunovic back to serve now for the Bearcats as they lead 17-14.
This might be the largest lead the Bearcats have had this entire game.
And we will get a timeout here by the Jayhawks. Coach Jeff Allman wants to talk a few things over, trying to get this sweep. And to do that, you need your team to lock in right here and right now. You do not want to give the Bearcats one and give them confidence. And back out of the timeout now. Cincinnati still in the lead, 17-14 here in set number 3. Kansas leads the match 2-0. Of course, Cincinnati down in the all-time series of Kansas, 0-2. It's been a sweep every single time. They're trying to change that. And Simunovic skies a serve too strong off the back line. Side out Kansas. Ryan White will serve for the Jayhawks. They're down by 2. White sends it over, tacked up by Johnson. Spees set to Glendening. Dalton hits it high. Ryan White gets it over to Zelenovic, who's blocked at the net and out of bounds off of Elliot Mickelberry's hands. So it will stay with the Jayhawks, and now they are only trailing by 1 singular point.
Definitely a smart move to call timeout there for the Jayhawks.
They've gotten 2 in a row since coming out of that timeout. See if they can make that 3 in a row. Just a net grazer of a serve there. Gillespie sets up Glendening, fielded by Grace Nelson. They'll send it back to her. Kept alive by Gillespie once again. Glendening gets a chance. White dives to keep it alive. Now Zelenovic finds the space on the left sideline. Pickering couldn't get there.
Cooking. Do not want her to get in her rhythm. Has had a relatively quiet night, Zelenovic.
All tied at 17s now are the Bearcats and the Jayhawks. Set in the middle to Mickelberry with power, finds the ground.
I was saying earlier tonight, definitely Mickelberry getting back into the mix. Love to see it.
Back in the lead of the Bearcats, 18-17, deep into set 3. It's anyone's set so far here.
Pickering will send it over.
Dalton, the back set to Zelenovic. Blocked at the net by Glendening, right back into her.
Excuse me, that was actually Spees sending it on over there on the serve.
Cincinnati extending their lead up to 2 now, 19-17. See if they can hold their momentum, come away with set number 3. Spees sends it over. Tapped up by Nelson. Dalton the set back to Nelson and finds space on the right side of Gillespie. She couldn't get there in time. Side out Kansas.
Perfect execution from the Jayhawks there. Getting it to Ryan Swanson.
We see Molly McCarthy back there to serve for Kansas, trailing by 1. On the ground is Johnson to keep that one alive. Glendening sends one over. Going to be returned. Nelson with a light one. Spees to set to Glendening. Blocked the net, kept alive by Gillespie. Spees has to dive to keep it up, and Glendening finds space in the middle of the court, right in front of Logan Bell. Cincinnati up by 2, deep into set 3, 20-18. Trying to avoid a sweep. We'll see what they can manage.
Right after that kill.
Glendening with the serve. Tapped up. Tachik blocked the net. And down on the Kansas side. Nobody was covering the net at all. It's a 3-point lead for Cincinnati.
Kill percentage in this set has been a lot better for the Bearcats.
Glendening to serve once again. White, good dig by her. Dalton sends it high. Grace Nelson finds the space. Nelson, an incredible match for her so far. 13 kills on the match. And every time it comes off their hand, it's just so fast. Straight to the ground, and she is back to serve now for Kansas as well, trailing by 2 points. Kept alive by Gillespie. Spees to set in the middle. Mickelberry's blocked the net. Free ball sent over by the Jayhawks. Spees to set. Buziani blocked again. Another opportunity for Buziani. Nelson taps it up. Dalton the set to Swanson. She's blocked. Dive by Buziani keeps it alive. Pickering with a light one. A good rally forming here. Swanson gets an opportunity off the arms of the Bearcats and out of bounds. Kansas only down by 1 point now. Trying to avoid.
Gotta stop the momentum here.
They don't want to give Cincinnati even a one set tonight. They want this sweep. Nelson sends a net grazer, fielded by Liederberg. Hit over by Buziani is returned. Another opportunity for her. And she finds it to the left side of Grace Nelson. 2-point lead for Cincinnati as Lily Gillespie is back to serve for the Bearcats.
She knew where she wanted to go with that one. Back line.
Gillespie, another ballooning serve from her, but it works right in front of McCarthy. It's a tough one to read. Thought it would go farther, took a nosedive, and now Cincinnati's only 2 points away from taking this set as we get a timeout by Kansas.
Third service ace on the match for the Bearcats.
Cincinnati up 23-20 late here in set 3, trying to avoid the sweep. Kansas called the timeout. We'll see if they can talk things over and if they can make the comeback and come away with the sweep in Clifton. Back out of the timeout, Cincinnati in the lead, 23-20. Here in set number 3, trying desperately to avoid getting swept once again by the Jayhawks. Lily Gillespie to serve for them. Sends it over, fielded by McCarthy cleanly this time. Dalton sets Swanson, blocked the net. Spees is there to keep it alive. Liederberg sets Buziani, kept alive by Nelson. Dalton the set, Swanson once again, and this time it finds the ground. Kansas not going down without a fight. They trail by 2.
Heidi Devers back to serve the Jayhawks.
Devers, only 5'4", the sophomore from Kansas, playing for her home state. Spees sets up Samunovic, who's blocked the net, back down on the Bearcat side. That's 2 in a row for the Jayhawks. And now we'll get a timeout on the other side. Coach Tomich will call a timeout for Cincinnati as they secede 2 quick points to Kansas out of their own timeout.
A little cat and mouse game by the coaches, drawing up some new formations, new plays.
It is win by 2 for the set, so the Bearcats will need to keep up their streak. They'll need 2 more. Don't want to secede any points to the Jayhawks. Glendenning would be who you want to go to. Almost 400 hit percentage for her on the night, 17 kills. Other than that, it's been extremely spread out. Buziani's second there with 7. Samunovic has 3, hasn't been super consistent tonight. You're going to want to draw up something for Carly Glendenning on the outside. If you're Kansas, you want your strongest players at the net. Tajik, Papich, and Swanson all have 3 blocks. Of course, never hurts to have the 6'7" Zelenovic out there at the net either. Doesn't have a block tonight, but it's just hard to hit around her. We'll see exactly what lineups both these teams try to go with out of the timeout. What is the strategy? Kansas will have the serve. It is still Devers back there. Get the whistle, and Devers is ready to go. 23-22 is the Cincinnati lead. Devers sends it over, tapped up by Gillespie. Speeds cross-court set to Buziani, who's blocked the net. Give her another opportunity in that one. Too strong off the back line. Cincinnati was calling for a tip. And it looks like we're going to get a challenge by Coach Tomich. Every player on the Cincinnati team was calling for a tip ball before it went out of bounds. Coach Tomich immediately went over there to challenge. So we'll see. It's either going to be a Cincinnati lead by 3 points, or 2 points, or it's going to be all tied up at 23s.
Huge call impending.
We'll see if they end up giving us a review on the Jumbotron. It's really hit or miss whether they give us one. We do get one. Is it going to be... Ooh, that does hit the fingers of the Jayhawks off the net.
Does look like it is going to be Bearcat point, making it 24-23, but I'm going to knock on wood here.
Like the finger goes back with the ball. I would say clear to me that that is Bearcat point, but we'll see what the referees say.
Bearcats players did seem convinced. Makes it all more convincing that this will go the Bearcats' way.
And if it does, they'll be up by 2 and stop this Kansas run. They only need 1 more point. Taking a long time for this review. Kansas is already back out there in formation. Kansas is lining up like they're ready to serve. They're lining up like they still have the point.
Kansas will go with, wait. Kansas will go with Katie Dalton, as well as number 1, Grace Nelson, number 7, Aurora Popich. And that'll go the Bearcats' way.
So we do get the call eventually. It took them a long time, but the Bearcats are in a good position. That sets them up here. Set point, trying to avoid this sweep. 24-22 is the Cincinnati lead. Paige Pickering.
They got the crowd on their feet.
Back to serve. Sends it over. Ooh, just bounces off the top of the net, but does get over. Swanson rolls off the net, goes on the Kansas side, and the Bearcats avoid the sweep. 25-22 in set 3, and we will head to another set. Cincinnati not ready to go down without a fight, despite going down 0-2. And hold, scratch that thought, because there is a video review.
How many of those have we had tonight?
What exactly we're reviewing, I couldn't tell you if you asked me, but there is a review. Kansas challenged something. We'll see exactly what it is. And the last review took quite a while, so we're not exactly sure how quick this one will.
Seems pretty clear to us on that last one. See how long
we're ready to get a call, and it does stay with Cincinnati. I'm not exactly sure what they were looking at, but whatever it was wasn't convincing enough. So they do come away with the point and the set. Kansas still in the lead, 2-1, but Cincinnati did avoid the sweep, and they'll have another opportunity here in set 4 after a short break.
And we're back for Bearcats volleyball. And Kansas will lead 2-1 in sets in this match. Definitely breathing some life back into the Bearcats after that win. Mackenzie Johnson will send it on over for the Bearcats. Returned not so cleanly over to Dalton. Back over to the Bearcats. Pickering it'll get a block by the Jayhawks.
Quick start for Kansas. They are going to be playing with a little bit of revenge after dropping that third set. They're going to want to come away with a win. No more messing around for them.
Fielded cleanly over to Pickering. Oh, Glendenning. Sent back over to Kansas. Nelson will hit it over. Back over to Glendenning. And that'll be inbounds for the Bearcats. 1-1.
Glendenning again, their 18th kill of the night, approaching 20. She probably will get it here in this fourth set.
Simjonovic back to serve for the Bearcats. She'll send it on over. Fielded cleanly by Grace Nelson. And that'll be a kill for Zelenovic.
It's too easy. Too easy right in the middle.
Way too easy. Zelenovic will be back to serve for the Jayhawks. So much air underneath that ball, but it'll be a service that'll be inside. That is just so unfair.
I can't even blame Mackenzie
Service
Johnson.
Ace right on the back line.
She backed away thinking it was way over. I thought it was too, but it just took a dive right at the end.
That's what you can do at 6'7". She'll send it right back on over. But that one will be out of bounds. So a service ace followed by a service error. Andy Spees will be back to serve for the Bearcats. The Bearcats setter. And she'll send it on over. Tapped over on the net, but that'll be a service ace right off the net into the middle. Very fortunate series of events. Only one for the Bearcats.
Hey, you'll take it. Not what you were looking for, but you'll take a point no matter how you get it.
Spees will send it on over. Over. And that'll be blocked by Elliot Mickleberry, as well as Pickering in on it as well.
There's Mickleberry, her fourth block of the night.
They'll send it on over. Fielded cleanly over to Glendenning, blocked. Gillespie will set it up for Glendenning. Over the Jayhawks. They'll return it back for Glendenning again. But that'll be out of bounds. Jayhawks point.
Yeah, and Kansas with a quick 5-3 lead here. We've seen the Bearcats come back from much worse, but you don't want to get them too much momentum early in the set.
Nelson will send it on over. It's deflected off the net. Over, deflected back. Kansas will have a shot at it here. Back over to Glendenning. They'll meet it at the net. Over for Swanson. Swanson sets it up. Swanson will be back over the tip. Really nice dig by Gillespie. Over back to the Jayhawks. Grace Nelson. Back again, Gillespie. Over for Glendenning. And Swanson, really good positioning, but this is the Gillespie show. Swanson again, but Gillespie. 5 digs on the set. Glendenning will go back down, and that'll be a point for the Bearcats.
I mean, a well-deserved. That's all Lily Gillespie. She doesn't get credited, but that's all Lily Gillespie on that point. Ridiculous.
Unbelievable by Lily Gillespie. ESPN top 10.
Just 25 digs. Turns 27 after it's updated from that one.
Glendenning back to serve for the Bearcats. Grace Nelson received. Oh, and that'll be out of bounds. Another point for the Bearcats. It'll be tied up 5-5. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Oh, we have a video review.
6-4, but there'll be a video review.
We've gotten a lot of these in the past few points here.
Definitely not as much as I had in my first game.
No, you have a lot in that one.
But no, I meant to say we've had way more in this game, actually. I meant to say. Little M&M action. Monster getting us in the Halloween spirit.
Yeah, just a few hours. So we're under 4 hours from it technically being Halloween. Although I will not be up past midnight, but
neither will I. Friends with the monster. We're back. It'll be 5-5 as we get back underway. Glendenning back to serve. She'll send it on over. Fielded cleanly by the Jayhawks. Swanson, that'll be out of bounds. Bearcats point. That'll be an error on Swanson. Glendenning, one of their better servers, back to serve again for the Bearcats. She'll send it on over. Setted by Grace Nelson. It'll be over for Lily Gillespie. They'll send it over. Buznani back over. Lily Gillespie sends it up for Buznani. Glendenning back up to Buznani. They'll get number 10, Reese Pachek, over there for the kill.
And we're back tied up. Just as quick as you get the lead, it can go away just as fast.
Reese Pachek back there to serve for the Jayhawks. She'll send it on over. Fielded cleanly by Pickering. Check will send it on over for the Jayhawks. Over to 17. Pickering. They'll be out of bounds. Jayhawks lead 8-6. Check on a little bit of a roll here. Reese Pachek will send it on over. Fielded cleanly by the Bearcats. Over the net for the Bearcats. Back, and that'll be Swanson. But Lily Gillespie digging it out. Buznani sends it back over. That'll be Swanson. Back over for the Jayhawks. Buznani blocked. But that'll be another Jayhawks point right down the line.
Yeah, the block went so far, it landed back line inbounds.
Unfortunate series of events, but let's see if we can get this turned around for the Bearcats. Reese will Send it on over for the Jayhawks. Fielded cleanly. Set it up for Buznani. And that'll be inbounds right down the line for Buznani. That'll make it 9 kills on the match. Only 2 errors.
A powerful hit for her, too.
Lily Gillespie back to serve. She'll send it on over. She's a service ace on the night. Out of bounds for Grace Nelson. So, see if Lily Gillespie can get on a little bit of a roll here. Gillespie sends it on over. Grace Nelson fielded cleanly. Over to Swanson. That'll be a kill for the Jayhawks. Swanson having a really good match, leading the team with 16 kills. Followed closely by 14 with Grace Nelson. Really balanced scoring attack. They'll send it on over. Jayhawks. They'll set it up for Buznani. Jayhawks over to Swanson. Light tap, but that'll be a Bearcats point. Side out Bearcats. Paige Pickering back to serve for the Bearcats. Looking to put on some spin on this. And it'll dive down. Really good serve by Paige Pickering. That'll be a service ace for her. Not fielded cleanly by the Jayhawks.
And we're all tied up here at 10. Cincinnati is really putting some fear into Kansas right now.
Paige Pickering will send it on over for the Bearcats. Almost another service ace, but the Jayhawks will send it back over. Buznani. Over for Buznani again. Blocked by Zelenovic. Jayhawks will send it on over. Fielded cleanly. Up for Buznani again. And that'll be another Bearcats point. That'll make it 11-11. Mackenzie Johnson with 2 service aces on the match. Had 3 before starting tonight. She'll send it on over. Fielded cleanly by Grace Nelson. Up over the net. Glendenning will send it on over for the Bearcats. Lily Gillespie trying to dive for it, but couldn't quite get to it. She's been all over the court tonight, though. Ryan White back to serve for the Jayhawks. She'll send it on over. Fielded cleanly by Mackenzie Johnson. And Andy Spears with a kill. That's pretty rare.
Hey, if it works, it works.
It works.
That's where you can get your points from. You got to go to alternative sources here.
I take it back. That is a little bit a part of her game. Smionovic will serve for the Bearcats. Oh, fielded cleanly. Over for the Jayhawks. That'll make it 13-12. Zelenovic will be back to serve. It's quite a spectacle to see her serve. She'll throw it really high up into the air. Get a lot of spin on that ball. And that'll be a service ace because it is just unfair for Zelenovic.
That's just impossible. I don't even know what they're supposed to do against that. You have to get lucky, hope it goes right to you, I guess.
I'm just laughing every time. Just how purely skilled she is. She'll send it back on over. Fielded cleanly, but that'll be number 10, Reese Pachek, for the Jayhawks. That'll be a timeout by Mia Tomic. And we're back. We'll send it on over. Fielded cleanly over for Glendenning. And that'll be a kill, another kill for Carly Glendenning. That'll make it 20 on the match. Andy Spees back to serve. She'll send it on over. Fielded not so cleanly. Over for Swanson. Up for Glendenning. They'll give him a shot here. Swanson, and that is not fielded cleanly by Andy Spears. Just a lot of power there by Swanson.
Yeah, it's a tough one to get a handle on, but Cincinnati, they're down by 3 now. They really need to make sure their defense is strong. No more mistakes, or you're going to come away with a loss.
Grace Nelson sends it on over. Up for Glendenning. Returned cleanly. Swanson sends it on over. Set it up by Andy. Just giving a free one to the Jayhawks, but it's blocked by number 17 of the Bearcats, Aurora Popig.
There's a good one for the Bearcats. Get the point back, build some momentum. Now you have Glendenning back there to serve. This is a great opportunity to cut away at the lead and come back to tie it.
That's 2 blocks on the match for Popik. No, 6, actually. Shortcutted her a lot there. Glendenning will send it on over. Fielded cleanly. Up for and out of bounds. Buznani.
Yeah, that wasn't anywhere close. That was almost in the student section. Just a little bit too strong.
Never short is Buznani. Either inbounds or just sailed over. Jayhawks will send it on over. Fielded cleanly, up for Buznani. It'll get blocked. Lily Gillespie sets it up for Buznani. Grace Nelson on the attack. Just brutal when you get her in the center of the court. That'll make it 18-14 Jayhawks. Bearcats really gonna have to dig deep here. Reese Pacheck back to serve for the Jayhawks. She'll send it on over. Fielded, they'll just send it on over. That'll be for Swanson. And they'll get another kill. I believe that was number 4, Ryan Swanson, again. And we'll go to timeout take a break. Now as we break out of both team huddles, we're ready to get back to play. UC trailing 14-19. Number 10, Reese Pachek, will send it on over for the Jayhawks. Fielded not cleanly, and that'll be way out of bounds. Very uncharacteristic. She's on a really long roll here. She'll send it back over. Fielded cleanly, not cleanly again. That you just cannot have those defensive errors. That is extremely upsetting for the Bearcats. Daniela Tomage not happy.
Yeah, now you're down by 7. You're on the verge of giving away this game. Only 4 more points for the Jayhawks to take this one away.
Reese Pachek will send it on over. Andy Spears will set it up. Another dig over to Swanson. Buznani. Grace Nelson with 18 digs on the match. But they'll get their first point in forever. Bearcats 15-21, and they'll get Lily Gillespie back there to serve. That's always a good sign. Gillespie will send it on over. Swanson blocked at the net by Paige Pickering. Gotta get on a roll here. If we can get on a roll like Reese Pachek did, that would be huge for the Bearcats. Sends it on over, fielded cleanly by the Jayhawks, but it'll stay on their side, and that'll be a 3-0 run for the Bearcats.
Not going away just yet. Still have time. Just don't give away the easy ones.
Only down 4. Little stoppage in play to clean up the mess on the floor. Lily Gillespie will send it on over. Swanson, an attempt at a block, but just too powerful. Stays on UC's side, and it'll be side out Kansas. Really having some trouble with the court here. Very slick down there in the center of the court on the Jayhawks side. Jayhawks will send it on over. Fielded cleanly over to Buznani. And that is point out of bounds, where they're just clinging to life now. Jayhawks send it on over. Fielded by Gillespie over to Buznani. Blocked at the net. They'll send it over to Simjonovic. Back for Swanson. Gillespie up over to Buznani. And that'll be sent way out of bounds. She's been having some trouble with that tonight. Another timeout by Mia Tolmich. Set point and game point.
Okay, it's going to be a review.
Oh, video review.
Coach Shomich must have challenged that last point. Not exactly sure what the challenge is, but Cincinnati needs this one to go their way, or else it is going to be match point for the Jayhawks.
Video review taking a little long here. Just now breaking out of their huddles. That'll be the setter, Katie Dalton, back to serve for the Jayhawks. Fielded cleanly. That'll be a point for the Bearcats. Side out Bearcats.
Yeah, Kansas was well over the net.
Paige Pickering back to serve for the Bearcats. She'll send it on over. And Swanson will have it for the Bearcats. Buznani. Over. Oh, gosh. Back for Swanson. And that's going to go out of bounds, and that'll be game. Kansas Jayhawks will take the match 3-1 in the set, 25-18. Playing shorthanded, all things considered, Bearcats went out there and gave it their best effort.
Yeah, they gave a solid shot at it, but it's just hard to really play well against a great ranked team here in Kansas when you're shorthanded, especially when your best player's down as well. It's really tough.
Being down Sydney Nolan is pretty tough, for sure. And that'll be all on the Bearcast Media Network. I'm Tim Kraft. Along with me, Justin. See you next time.